most common questions I get asked is, how do I snowball a game? I'm very good at getting a lead during the laning phase, but once the mid-game rolls around, I get caught out, I'm not sure where to go, I end up dying, I'm not putting pressure in the right places. A lot of times the games end up stalling and we lose. How do I fix this? Well, during the heat of solo queue, a lot of times games end in unpredictable ways. People getting caught out, random steals, or just a lot of random dying. But sometimes the enemy might have a little more brains and they will stall out the game, and you're not going to know how to stop them from scaling or clawing back to the game. And that's where you're going to need a more strategical approach to closing out the game. So let's break it down. This is a bit of a complex idea. So the first thing is, let's think about how gold comes into fruition in this game. There's either lane minions, there's also jungle camps, and kills. We're not going to count things like Baron or Avarice Blaze or things like that. What you're going to want to do with this whole strategy is going to be deny the enemy's jungle camp. What I mean by that is that since you have a lead, you're going to want to stop taking your own jungle and take theirs. That puts the enemy jungler in a pickle, in a bad situation, because they're getting very little gold, very little experience, and they end up going through a lot of predictable pathing, making their gang super weak. But more importantly, it limits the ways that the enemy can be in, the places that the enemy can be in. So if you block out the entire enemy jungle, it's all taken, it's all warded, it's all blacked out, that you don't see anything, the enemy has nowhere to go except one specific place, which is going to be the towers. They have to wait in their towers for the waves to push in and farm them there. Or they can just push out overextended and farm there as well. But the point is, they're stuck to the lanes. That's when the vision that you accumulated before comes in, because what that allows you to do is set up camp in the enemy jungle, wait for somebody to come in that's unsuspecting. Realistically, nobody will come in because they should not want to try to contest a jungle that is completely dark with enemies in it if they're behind. So you sit in the jungle, and what that allows you to do is leave the carries farming on the side lanes by themselves, getting more experience, getting full gold, and you know they're not going to get ganked because you have full vision of the jungle and full vision of the lane, while the opponent is stuck waiting at the tower for the wave to come in. Now once the waves crash at the tower, now you want to do this simultaneously as well. You can time the crashing of the waves in specific moments, and then you tower dive. Then you find the enemies that are there because you know they're going to be there, so you have a very good idea as to where you should be. It becomes a super simple game. And then you either take the tower dive and kill them. Or zone them, I guess. So that's the idea. With that, you create a gold lead, get objectives, and then close out the game with Baron if you need to, by just sheer pressure and denying the enemy jungle. Let's go into more specific examples. Now, what I want you to understand is that what I told you earlier is the gist of the idea, so how you want to play this game out. Now I'm going to give you a bit of examples as to how you want to actually put this into practice. So the first thing is, again, let's assume that we have a gold lead. You're watching this because you usually get a gold lead, so at around 10 or 15 minutes, which is usually when first tower drops, maybe not all outers are taken down, regardless. 2 to 5,000 gold lead around 10 or 15, pretty normal stuff. With a gold lead, that also means that you should be stronger generally in any 3v3 formation that you choose to take if you have a gold lead. So any 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, 5v5, you should be stronger because you have a gold lead. With that assumption, the first lane that has taken a tower should usually be the one that makes the initiative, but that doesn't have to. Let's say nobody has taken a tower yet. What you want to do is use the strength in numbers to push a lane in. So because you're stronger, because we discussed that you're stronger in the 2v2 or 3v3, you're going to want to have usually the jungler go to a lane, just show up to the lane, not gank it. I mean, you can gank it if you want, but the idea is you show up and you push the lane. By pushing the lane, that allows you to go into the enemy jungle and ward it. because the enemy is going to be stuck under the tower farming. That's just the way the game works. While they're stuck under the tower, you can either go ward the jungle or go for another play on another side of the map. So a very common play that you see, that's really good by the way, is if your bot lane is winning, and they usually can push in 24/7, what you do with your jungler, as a jungler or as a mid laner or anybody, you just call somebody to your lane. So if I'm playing LeBlanc and I see my mid lane winning, my bot lane winning, I'd say, hey Amumu, come to my lane. Just push the wave with me. Amumu will push the wave, and then we will go together into the bot lane. Because bot lane has push power, we go as a 2-man unit through the jungle. We're not going to get stopped because the opposing mid laner is stuck under the tower farming, and we're going to safely make it down there. And then we 4-man tower dive bot lane. So the idea is you push in a lane, and then you go to another one, and with that strength in numbers, even if the numbers are equal, because you have a gold lead already, they should not want to contest. And at that point, you either tower dive, zone them, or take the tower and move on. Once you've done that with most inner towers, and by the way, you don't have to do this as a unit, you can do this solo. So for example, a champion like LeBlanc can use her distortion twice on the wave and really just clear the whole thing without needing somebody else to do so. Same thing with picks like Renekton top, that you can just perma push the wave and then just go bottom, and surprise, you just tower dove. So that's the idea. You just push and then you go do something else while warding the enemy jungle. Once you've taken control of the enemy jungle, you're going to want to do two things. You need to take all the dragons as quickly as possible, literally on spawn. You need to take those things fast. You need to close out the game, so you need to start getting that 5 dragon timer ticking fast, because at 5 dragons, if you can't tower down and win a game, then that's really you fucking it up. And you're also going to take the enemy's camps on spawn. So each camp is 1 minute 40, while buffs are 5 minutes. You really, really need to take these, and not your own. Because what happens is that you, as your own jungler and team, by taking the opponent's jungle instead, maintain your gold income the exact same, but you completely shaft the enemy's jungle income, because now what are they going to farm? They just have to show up to a lane or get a miracle gank, which should be impossible because of the wars that you've implemented earlier in the lane, earlier while taking the tower. So you're going to want to repeat that process of show up to a lane, push it, go into the jungle, ward it, deny the vision by putting aggressive pink wards using effective use of sweeper or proper raptor camp. So always smite raptor camp or wolf camp, to be honest. Those two are very good for when taking over the enemy's jungle. And once you've warded it, you've lit it up, and you denied it, then you're just going to do the exact same thing you did for the first towers, which you just push a lane, go into the jungle, wait to see where somebody's going to answer the wave, and then either tower dive them, take the tower, or zone. And if nobody shows up, then just show up and take the tower, because that's the strength that you have by taking over the jungle, that you have an easy access between all 3 lanes, while they do not. They have to go from lane through their base to the other lane to the other lane, and it's a lot harder, and there's a lot of chance to get picked off in between. So usually it becomes very tedious and difficult to defend towers in this position, which is why you as the aggressor have a really nice position to be in, because of how easy it can seem when it's done effectively. Towers, tower dive, objectives, dragons, and once you've done this, once you've finally broken all the base, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I cannot break this fucking game open. They have a Victor, Sivir, Janna, and it is impossible to end this game. What am I going to do? Well, here's where, first of all, let's hope you didn't fuck up earlier, and you should have quite a few dragons before trying to crack the base. And then you should also have that 5 dragon window opportunity in about 12 minutes, but it'll be a lot harder then because of how hard they can scale and stall. You want to do that same process of vision denial and pushing the waves with Baron. So what that means is you push the waves, you deny the vision around the Baron area, and when the waves crash, you should have proper and excellent vision denial at that point towards the Baron area, which what happens is the enemy is forced to react to the wave. They're already thinking, the first thing they see is the wave being built up, and they're thinking, okay, in 20 seconds we have to somebody has to catch that or we're going to lose a base tower. At exactly that time when they show up to defend the wave and you have the perfect vision now on Baron, you just start it. Because that's already one person that's not going to be able to participate. If you do that with multiple waves, that's going to be two people that are way too far from the Baron to participate. This is also assuming that you've already taken all the tier 2 towers. By the way, I hope this actually made any sense because it's a really effective technique that I hope that you can actually do it. I recommend you do it as a duo queue, particularly with your support and jungler. It can be super effective, and you do not need to do it. Sorry, I got carried away. Anyways, do it on Baron. Just do the same thing. Do the Baron, and then just close out the game with a Baron buff. Get a banner of command if you have to. Wrecker, really. Like, if you can't close out the game with, like, 5 dragons, a Baron, and a banner, then, honestly, you just fucked up big time. Somebody fucked up. So I got carried away, and so as I was saying, this technique is super effective as a team. It's usually what you see in competitive play, and that's what teams get judged on. So what small lead they can have and snowball that. So some bad teams will need a really big lead. So for example, like 4 kills would be enough to close for them to know how to snowball a game. But the best teams in the world will be able to snowball off you off like one canceled teleport. That's right. Like you try to make a TP play, you didn't even go through with it. You canceled it, stayed in lane, and with that they can just snowball the game, which is insane to think about. But that's how teams in the best teams in the world are judged. And even though it might seem like this whole thing requires a lot of teamwork, it becomes exceptionally easy once you do it from pretty much any role from the AD, except for the AD carry position, which all that they can do is really just rotate, which is super effective, by the way, don't get me wrong, but the vision part is a lot harder for them, especially the setting up part, since they're usually just damage and not CC. You can do this by yourself. So as I mentioned, LeBlanc can just push in, Renekton can push in. There's lots of matchups in this game that can have a lot of pushing power, and then from that, just go for plays around the map. And you just go in as a laner and just ward the jungle and go for plays then on. So if you need to, just ask your teammates to help you out. Just say, hey man, I need a ward in the bot lane. I want a TP down there. They'll help you out. It's not like they'll say, no, I don't want you to fuck out of my lane, man, which actually, you know what, that might happen. But regardless, somebody will want to be with you, and if they don't, then you can just report them. So I hope this was remotely helpful, because this is super difficult to actually come up with and really put it into simpler terms, because there's so many different variations that affect this game, like the champions, the itemizations, the matchups, all sorts of things. So hopefully the gist is there and you can utilize this to your success.